Do you know what the difference between sympathy and empathy is? Well, today we'll read a news article that discusses the difference, how to build empathy as a skill, and you'll learn 53 everyday English expressions. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started. First, I'll read the headline. Can you teach people to have empathy? Right off the bat, let's define empathy and compare this to sympathy, a question I commonly receive from students. Notice grammatically, empathy and sympathy are both nouns. You can have, possess, so this is the verb to have empathy, to have sympathy. Empathy is when you understand and share someone else's feelings. Sympathy is simply when you feel bad for someone. For example, I'm so sorry you lost your job. That's awful. I feel bad for you. Compare that to, I'm so sorry you lost your job. The exact same beginning, but you might say something like, I understand how difficult that is. Maybe because I lost my job last year, or my husband, my brother, my father, my friend, my roommate lost their job. So I have a deeper understanding of those feelings. So it's a subtle but important difference. Empathy, sympathy. You may remember that I said right off the bat, let's define and compare empathy and sympathy. This is a very commonly used expression right off the bat. It means at the very beginning. You can use it in meetings, in social conversations. If you're telling your friend about a vacation, you could say right off the bat, it was the best vacation I had. So you're letting your friend know at the very beginning. Or since we're at the very beginning of this lesson, you might say or think to yourself, right off the bat, this is a great lesson. We're only a few minutes in and you've learned a lot already. What do you think? Do you agree right off the bat, this is a great lesson? If you do, put that's right, put that's right in the comments. And don't worry about taking all these notes because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. Now let's continue. Have you ever had that feeling when your friend is going through a hard time and you can almost feel their pain? Now let's take a look at this. To go through a hard time. In this context, to go through, the verb is go. It's conjugated in the present continuous, is going through, but the verb is go. So to go through means experience. So you could say, have you ever had that feeling when your friend is experiencing a hard time? But we only use go through to mean experience when it's used with a negative adjective. So a hard time, a difficult time, a terrible time, any other negative adjective. You can start with hard time or difficult time, challenging time, and then you can add on and learn more adjectives to express your ideas in different ways. For example, you could say, we went through a turbulent time after the fire. Turbulent means there was a lot of uncertainty, a lot of confusion. Turbulent. We went through a turbulent time after the fire. Now remember, go through, go is your verb, so you conjugate this. In this case, it's the past simple went. But remember, we only use this with negative adjectives. If you say we had an amazing time on vacation, you use to have an X time. X represents the adjective, and you can use a positive or a negative adjective with this. And in this case, the verb have means experience. You could say we had a terrible time on vacation, but you can only use go through with a negative adjective. Let's keep reading. That's one aspect of an amazing power we have, empathy. So remember, empathy is about feeling and understanding what someone else is going through. Now, generally, we use this with negative situations, which is why I used what someone is going through, because the adjective choice would be negative. Empathy is the ability to feel and understand other people's emotions and perspectives. So now we have a definition, but you already knew this. Let's review perspective. This is a way of thinking or considering situations. And we'll review this because it's very common to use instead of asking for someone's opinion. You probably are familiar with the question, what's your opinion on this? You could also say, what's your perspective on this? What's your way of thinking about this or considering this? Now, to answer using these two words, notice the difference in preposition. In my opinion, from my perspective. So remember this, because this is a very powerful word choice for your IELTS, for meetings, for job interviews, or for more formal situations. From my perspective. But you must use the preposition from. In my opinion, from my perspective, and then you can state your thoughts, your ideas, your opinion, or perspective.
Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, the movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily. Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's continue with our lesson.
At times like that, remember that represents when someone you know is going through something. Remember, to go through something is to experience something negative, only negative. At times like that, empathy might come on without you doing anything to make it happen. Do you know what come on means in this context? When something comes on, in this case, empathy comes on, it means it happens, occurs, or starts suddenly and automatically. For example, the heat just came on. So I'm in this room now, I have a thermostat, and I don't do anything to control the heat. It comes on automatically. It comes on suddenly when the temperature drops below a certain degree. So the heat just came on. That would be a very everyday use of this expression, and you can use it with the air conditioning, of course. But also, a migraine came on in the middle of an important meeting. So a migraine happened suddenly and automatically in the sense that you didn't do anything to create it. It just came on. A migraine came on in the middle of an important meeting. So it can be used for an emotion. You can feel a certain emotion suddenly and automatically, something like heat, or something like an illness or symptom like a migraine. So in this case, empathy might come on, happen, without you doing anything to make it happen. But did you know that empathy is actually a skill you can learn, and that it's really useful in myriad ways? Let's review myriad and notice the pronunciation. There is no A sound. It's id, myriad, myriad. This means large in number or a great variety. So you can learn how to use empathy or develop empathy in a large number of ways, or there's a great variety of ways you can learn this skill, as they call it, empathy as a skill. Now notice here they used did you know, did you know. That is optional. Often native speakers use that in writing, but we omit it. We don't use it in speaking. That isn't a rule, it's a guideline. But if you're ever wondering, do I need that? Do I not need it? Just use it because it's correct. It's just optional. So I could say, did you know I have myriad videos? A large number of videos, or it could be a small number, but within that smaller number, there's a great variety. So it could be either. Did you know I have myriad videos on my channel to help you become fluent? And in this case, there are both a large number and a great variety. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, so you can watch the myriad videos on my channel to help you become fluent. And notice here, it's optional. Did you know that? Or did you know I have? So did you know, you add this before a clause. A clause is a subject, verb, and then the rest of the sentence, the object. Now, the rest of the article, they'll talk about these myriad ways. The first, listening. Listening is a key part of empathy. Do you know what key means in this context? Of course, we're not talking about your house or your car keys. Listening is a key part of empathy. In this case, key means important part of empathy. This is frequently used in the structure to be key. For example, listening is key. Listening is very important. Depending on the context, it could be listening is the most important. So it can be important, very important, or the most important, depending on context. Listening is key. Listening is a key part, important part of empathy. Tuning in so you really understand. Let's take a look at tuning in. This is a phrasal verb, to tune in. In this context, tune in means to pay close attention to or to focus on. So when your friend is talking, you should tune in, pay close attention, focus on your friend so you really understand. Try to listen with your whole self to concentrate 100% and to hear what's behind the words. To check you've really understood and to show the other person you're listening, it can be powerful to reflect back what someone's telling you. Let's take a look at this. What's behind the words? So your job is to hear what's behind the words. This means to understand the meaning, motivation, or intention behind the words. So imagine your friend says to you, I lost my job, but I'm fine. So you want to understand, well, your friend says, I'm fine, but how does your friend truly feel? What is the intention by saying that? Is this true? So you want to understand what's behind the words, the true feeling, the motivation, or the meaning. We use this a lot in different situations. For example, you could ask someone, what's behind your decision to quit? Or to move, or even to learn English. What's behind your decision? What's motivating you? What's the true reason? So they want to know the true reason. So this is a very common question that you can be asked in different situations, including professional and social situations. What's behind your decision to do something? And then the person wants you to be more honest, more truthful about why you're doing something. Let's continue to the next point of building empathy. Read stories. When we read stories, a character's emotions can feel real. Tuning in to these emotions can help us learn about others' lives, perspectives, and feelings. So here we already learned what tune in means. Do you remember what it means? It means to pay close attention to or to focus on. Hopefully you're tuning in to my words right now. And remember, you tune in to something, or someone. So tuning into my words or tuning in to me as I'm teaching you all the vocabulary from this lesson. Now notice here, tune is in the gerund form. Tuning, tuning. Do you know why? Notice it's at the beginning of a sentence. When we use the gerund at the beginning of sentences, it's to make general statements. Let's compare these two sentences. Tuning in. So this is the gerund. It starts the sentence. Tuning in when others speak is key, is important, or the most important to building empathy. So notice here, is key to, and then you need the gerund for this expression as well, is key to doing something. In this case, building empathy. But this is a general statement. Tuning in when others speak is key to building empathy. But compare that to tune in when I speak to you. In this case, what verb tense is this? It's the imperative, which is used for instructions or orders. And students often confuse these. So make sure you're using the gerund to start when you're making general statements and the imperative, which uses the base verb to start when you're providing an instruction or an order. Tune in when I speak to you. And you already know what perspectives is. So it's great to have that repetition because then it gives you more opportunities to remember and practice this vocabulary. So perspectives, as we learned before, a way of thinking or considering situations. And it's in my opinion, but from my perspective. Did you remember that? If not, that's okay because you just need to repeat it. In my opinion, from my perspective, all without having to leave your chair. So this means all represents you can learn about others' lives, perspectives, feelings without leaving your chair. So all is the various points that were mentioned before. Let's continue. Get curious. Replace judgment with curiosity. So this is the next thing that you can do, or perhaps you should do, to build empathy. Remember that get means become. So it's from that transition from not curious to curious. And notice the verb tense. What verb tense is this? We just talked about it. It's not the gerund. It's the imperative. It's the base verb because this article is providing this as an instruction to you. Get curious. That's the advice to you. Now, to talk about this transition, you might say, I get confused when I read the news because there are so many expressions and words that you don't understand. So get is to talk about that transition from not confused when you first started reading, not confused, to confused. But then we use to be, I'm confused, to talk about your current state. So I get confused, I am confused. And don't worry, that's why I'm here to help you read the news easily. So get curious, replace judgment. Again, this is that imperative because it's the base verb to start the sentence. That's how I identify it. It's the base verb that starts the sentence and it's an instruction. Replace judgment with curiosity. This is what the article wants you to do. We can sometimes slip very easily into judging other people. What do you notice about the verb slip? Is it a regular verb? What is it? It's actually a phrasal verb, but it can be difficult to identify phrasal verbs when the preposition is separated from the verb. In this context, slip into means to gradually enter a bad condition. So you might understand from this example, some fear the economy is slipping into a recession. So the economy is entering a recession, which is a bad condition, but it's doing it gradually, which means slowly, slipping into. So we can sometimes slip very easily into judging other people. So we start judging other people. Oh, you shouldn't do that. Why is that person doing that? Look what they're doing. Look what they're wearing. So judging. But we do it gradually, so we don't notice we're doing it, but then gradually more and more, and it's a bad condition, and we slip into it. We can sometimes slip very easily into judging other people, especially people outside our normal in-groups. An in-group in this case just represents the people you normally socialize with. That would be your in-group, the people who are within your normal circle, your normal social circle. We use the term social circle to represent the people. It can be friends, family, coworkers, neighbors. Your social circle is the people you normally socialize with on a day-to-day basis. Your social circle. Try to notice when you're judging someone without really knowing them, and replace judgment with curiosity about their lives and their feelings. So notice here, you replace something, judgment, with something else. As advice, I could say, on your IELTS, you should replace basic vocabulary with more advanced vocabulary. Like, for example, saying she went through a hard time, she went through a turbulent time. So you can replace hard with turbulent. And this article suggests that you should replace judgment with curiosity about their lives and feelings, especially if they're very different from you or if you disagree with them. Like any new skill, it can take time to master developing your empathy skills. So don't go too fast. The main thing is to be authentic. Let's review how like is being used in this context. Like any new skill, like means similar to learning, similar to, and then whatever the action is, in this case, learning, mastering, developing, practicing, whatever the action might be. Similar to learning any new skill in the same way as learning any new skill. So like means similar to or in the same way as. So notice the difference here. In the same way as, you need all of these words, or you need similar to, or you can just use the one word like. Let's look at this example. Like learning to walk. So remember, similar to, in the same way as. And then the action is learning to walk. Like learning to walk, improving your speaking skills takes a lot of practice, repetition, and patience. Now notice here, my verb is take, and look at how it's conjugated. It has that S. Do you know why? You might be confused because you see the skills and you think, well, skills is plural, and we only add an S with he, she, it. This is an area that's confusing in English because you have to ask yourself, what is this verb being conjugated with? And with gerund statements, the entire gerund statement, which is improving your speaking skills, all of this is the subject of the statement, of the sentence, and this is conjugated as it. So gerund statements are conjugated as third person singular. You can think of it as it or this. This takes, it takes, which is why you add that S, even though the last thing you see was plural. That doesn't matter because it's conjugated as a gerund statement. Improving your speaking skills takes a lot of practice, repetition, and patience, like learning to walk, in the same way as, similar to. Like any new skill, it can take time to master developing. So notice here, we have to master doing something. You could also just say to master something. So you can use master plus a noun or master plus a gerund because it's master doing something. Let's look at these two examples. She mastered. This is in the ED because your verb is to master. So in the past simple, mastered. She mastered something. public speaking. This is a noun. It's a something. But you can use the gerund. She mastered speaking in public. So the exact same thing is just the different sentence structure, because if you have a noun or if you start with a verb, it needs to be the gerund verb. So that's why it's mastered developing your empathy skills. So don't go too fast. Take it slow is another way of saying this. Don't go too fast. Another expression is take it slow. Take it slow. And in this case, the it represents whatever the action is. Take developing your empathy skills slow. But because we already said that, we replace it with it. Take it slow. The main thing is to be authentic. To be authentic. Authentic means genuine, sincere, or true to yourself. So don't try to act fake, or don't try to give people fake empathy. Just develop it in a way that seems true to you and how you learn, how you feel, and offer it when it is genuine or sincere. And right here, we can practice an expression that we learned before, which is something is key. So instead of saying the main thing is to be authentic, we can replace that and say being authentic is key. So notice here we have be authentic, and then I have my be in the gerund verb because it's talking about it as the action. Being authentic is key. So previously we learned to be key. Being authentic is key. You're not required to use that. And if you don't understand that change, that's okay. Just practice this a few more times and you can review my explanation of how to use is key as well. And then just take it step by step and you can work on these more advanced ways to change your sentence structure as you feel more comfortable. And that's the end of our article. So what I'll do now is I'll read the article from start to finish and you can focus on my pronunciation. Can you teach people to have empathy? Have you ever had that feeling when your friend is going through a hard time and you can almost feel their pain? That's one aspect of an amazing power we have, empathy. Empathy is the ability to feel and understand other people's emotions and perspectives. At times like that, empathy might come on without you doing anything to make it happen. But did you know that empathy is actually a skill you can learn and that it's really useful in myriad ways? Listening is a key part of empathy. Tuning in so you really understand. Try to listen with your whole self to concentrate 100% and to hear what's behind the words. To check you've really understood and to show the other person you're listening. It can be powerful to reflect back what someone's telling you. Read stories. When we read stories, a character's emotions can feel real. Tuning into these emotions can help us learn about others' lives, perspectives, and feelings, all without having to leave your chair. Get curious. Replace judgment with curiosity. We can sometimes slip very easily into judging other people, especially people outside our normal in-groups. Try to notice when you're judging someone without really knowing them, and replace judgment with curiosity about their lives and their feelings, especially if they're very different from you or if you disagree with them. Like any new skill, it can take time to master developing your empathy skills. So don't go too fast. The main thing is to be authentic.
Did you like this lesson? Do you want me to make more lessons just like this? If you do, then put let's go in the comments. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And I have another lesson I know you'll love. Make sure you watch it right now.